Let's talk Iowa this morning. As Republican presidential hopefuls focus in on Iowa, a new poll shows President Trump in the lead with Iowa Republicans. An NBC News Des Moines Register Mediacom Iowa poll shows that President Trump is ahead with 51%. Coming in second is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis with 19%. Joining us now is Dr. Cody Hoefert, a DeSantis campaign surrogate and former co-chair of the Iowa GOP. Cody, thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, appreciate your time. I was on your Twitter last night. I was scrolling. I know you publicly endorsed DeSantis about a month ago. Why do you believe he's the man for the job? And not only for the job, but that he's the man to beat President Biden, especially given recent polling numbers?
Well, a couple of the reasons why I believe Governor DeSantis is the best person, not only to win the Republican nomination, but to defeat President Biden, is I think it's time for a new generation of leadership in our country. I mean, when you look at President Biden and you compare his energy, his ability to do events and to stand up and do multiple things when talking to foreign leaders, and you compare that with the energy that Governor DeSantis brings to the table, I think it's a no-brainer, and it's time for a new generation of leadership in American politics. And it's time to turn the page from the failures of the Biden administration onto a new generation, and that would be Governor DeSantis. When you look at the things that he's done in Iowa, I mean, nobody is out campaigning Governor DeSantis in Iowa. He's doing multiple events a day. He's working nonstop all day, every day to earn every vote here in Iowa.
Yeah.
And I think it's time. Love to see that energy brought to the nation.
And maybe nobody out campaigning him, but certainly outnumbering him. You know, if I can just revisit that poll we read right off the top, Trump has a 32-point lead over him. What does Governor DeSantis need to do? What does he have to do in the next 5 weeks to close that gap realistically?
Well, first of all, I would question the poll, and the reason I would question the poll is multiple, but one of the main reasons is if that poll is accurate, then President Trump is going to get the vote of every other Iowan Republican that you speak to. And I can tell you firsthand that that is not the case. There's nobody in the history of the Iowa caucus in a 4- or 5-way primary that's gotten over 50% of the vote, and I don't expect that that's going to be the case this time. If that was the case where I live in Lyon County, President Trump got 83% of the vote in 2020 against President Biden, and I can tell you firsthand, every other Iowan in Lyon County is not voting for President Trump.
But don't you think he is treating it as such? Don't you think you have to treat it as, okay, you know, hypothetically, let's pretend this poll is true. Don't you think he has to be out there campaigning as though he is that far behind? And what does he have to do in the next 5 weeks, he and his camp?
Well, I think he is. He is campaigning hard. He is working hard. That's why he just completed the full Grassley, what we here in Iowa call the full Grassley, of visiting all 99 counties. He's doing multiple events here in Iowa a day. He's making those personal phone calls and personal touches to people around Iowa to try to earn their vote and to ask for their vote. And that he's not just flying in, doing an event periodically. He's here on the ground, traveling and meeting with Iowans all day, every day. And so I think that he is doing the campaign side work of it. Now what we need to do is continue to make sure we get out the message of the failures of the Trump administration and the things that we're going to do different to help bring and make for a better America.
And continuing to just speak hypothetical, say he does lose, say these polls are correct, Trump wins Iowa. Moving forward, what can Governor DeSantis take away from Iowa, even if he loses in that first primary race?
Well, I'm not willing to talk about hypotheticals and him possibly losing, because I'm doing everything I can here in Iowa to make sure that that doesn't happen. And what I see on the ground here when I talk to Iowans is that Iowa's close, is a fairly close and contested race. I anticipate the race is much closer than that poll speaks to. And so I'm spending every day, like every other DeSantis supporter, working our tails off trying to earn every single vote of every single Iowan. And Iowa tends to break late. People need to remember that. When you get to your caucus that night, you're going to stand up in front of your friends and neighbors and the people you go to church with and make the case for your candidate. And I'm going to do that for Governor DeSantis. And people are going to come into that room undecided. Some people are going to come into that room as soft supporters for the president who maybe when they have a gun put to their head on a poll aren't sure who they're going to vote for. So vote for who they're most familiar with. And when they get their caucus night and hear their friends and neighbors who are voting for somebody else, are going to make that switch. And so that's what I'm going to work hard to try to accomplish.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.